What's that? Okay, I'll convene the February 27th meeting of the Waterways Advisory Committee. And call to order. Do you need to do roll call or you got it?
I've got it. Thank you. Let the record show that everybody is present except for member Mark Neely.
Okay. And we have remote participation today. Is that true?
We do not.
We do not. Okay. Next item is the minutes. I don't believe we have them. Is that true?
Correct. There are no minutes.
Boy, this is gonna be a quick meeting. Are there any public comments on items that are not on the agenda? Whoa. Here we go. Statement of purpose. The role of the Waterways Advisory Committee is to review development projects, both public and private, that are located adjacent to creeks and waterways for consistency with the goals, policies, and regulations for creekside development identified in the Santa Rosa General Plan, zoning code design guidelines, and citywide creek master plan. While the committee does not take formal action on projects, it does provide advisory comments to the decision-making body. All development projects located adjacent to a creek or waterway are required to be reviewed by the Waterways Advisory Committee prior to proceeding through the entitlement process. So with permission of the committee, I'd like to invert 5.2 and 5.3 and have the first topic be election of the chair and vice chair. Is that okay with everyone? So I should start by saying I've been in this job for a long time. And my life has changed and I'm more, I'll be away a little bit more and I partially think it's good to have a little bit of a change in leadership from time to time. And we do have a vice chair who has been very loyal and I'm wondering if you would all, I'll nominate him for the chair position if that's okay. But if there's anyone else who wants to do it,
I have a query.
please do.
Let me ask a staff
Always.
question. Budget cuts, do you know if this committee will continue to exist as an independent board or if it's going to be folded in? I, for one, need to be reappointed by the Park and Rec Board. This happens, do you know, moving forward, is this committee going to continue to exist?
I do not have that information. I can give you my email and send it to me and I will look into it. I don't have any information about the budget. Regarding to this.
Smart.
So you haven't heard
I have not
anything
ever-
specifically?
No. Have you?
No, the only thing that I would add is, council action created this committee, so it would take council action to change it or eliminate it, and I have not heard any talk of that, so.
Thank you.
And let the record please reflect, excuse me, that member Neely has arrived.
Yeah, sorry about that. I thought we were gonna move over to the other side. At some point, but not yet. maybe.
Fine, well,
It's always on the
we just,
Yeah.
On the website.
we have survived downturns before, so I'd be surprised if anything would happen with the committee. Anyway, is there anyone else who would like to serve as chair? With that, is there a second for,
Second. A second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much.
So will that happen immediately?
Should I just turn it over? Where's my gavel? I never even got it.
Okay, well, thank
Here's
you,
my
Steve.
pencil.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Okay, now we need to elect the vice.
Yeah, we will in 1 second. So everyone's aware of the master plan, which is our guiding document for this. Well, this gentleman here was the one that basically created it way back when, before there was a master plan, there was nothing. And when he says many years, I'm not sure, it's probably at least a few decades that you've been doing this and other things throughout the community. So just want to thank you for all your service, and we're glad that you're staying with the committee. So really happy about that.
And that's a fact, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
You can write that down. I'm not going anywhere.
So, yeah, go
please.
ahead.
I'll just add that now I have a baby granddaughter. I'm busy with 2 full days a week, and I have other committees and things, so that's what's leading me to this, so. Anyway, I
Okay.
welcome you, Art. You've been very loyal and I'm sure you'll do a great job.
Well, thanks. I hope to. It's, so we'll move to the vice chair elections, and I just want to state that our committee is composed of at-large individuals and then individuals that are from other committees, Planning Commission, Parks and Rec, Design Review, right? Yeah, and so those are other meeting requirements that you have. And so based upon that, I would like to make a nomination for vice chair, but I'm not sure who to, I'd like to invite either one of the at-large members to see if they'd like to do this. So that's like, you know, if you'd like to, Kevin, or if you'd like to, Mark, then I'd be happy to nominate either one of you. If both of you'd like to, we'll put it to a vote. You know, so
I didn't write my speech. If we're gonna, if I have to, campaign, no, I'm happy to do it, but either way.
Yeah, that's fine. I think Kevin would be a good choice, sure.
okay, then I nominate Kevin C for vice chair of the committee. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we'll call a vote.
Can I ask,
Oh, yes, go ahead.
always clarifying, so as an at-large, I don't know when you come up for reappointment, but does becoming vice chair guarantee, do you know when you come
I
up? for
believe it's the
reappointment?
end of 25.
Perfect.
Yeah, I thought everyone, do we have that information at hand?
Yeah, it's nobody sooner than the end of 2025.
Okay, that's a
Thank you
good
for
point.
indulging me.
No, thank
No,
you.
that's a great point.
Yeah.
Okay, any further discussion? Then I call the vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay. No nays, so unanimous vote. Let's move directly into the committee reports, no speech, okay? I have, and I'll pass these around, you guys, well, everyone should have been notified about the ethics and public service requirement. It's a 2-year requirement. And next, on March 25th at Tuesday, they're doing an in-person, I'll pass this around this way and then we'll bring it back. And so make sure this is, contact the city clerk and you should get signed up for this if you haven't done this. Remember, it's a 2-year requirement. If you did it 1 year ago, you don't have to do it this time. So you can check your records or the city clerk can verify. The other one is boards, commissions and committees orientation. And this will go over roles and responsibility of the legislative body, the Brown Act, Rosenberg's Rules of Order, conflict of interest, and other things. This one is March 11th from 4 to 6 in council chambers. And I'll pass this around this way. And this is another one. I'm not sure if this one is mandatory. Do we know if that's mandatory for that? I think okay, and there may be an opportunity to Zoom, but contact the city clerk again on that. Yeah.
So because I'm having hip surgery, I've been in touch with, is it Dina still?
Yeah, Dina.
And there is a taped, there is an
Okay.
online, but I think they really want you in person unless you have extenuating circumstances. Which I
Okay.
do.
So leave it up to the individual committee members to get scheduled and get this done.
Mhm.
Okay, so there's that. We have the master plan that we talked about just a minute ago, that it was updated 2013. And I believe, but I can't confirm, that it's required to be updated every 5 years or looked at, but so we've gone over 10. I know we're going to get a briefing from the transportation plan, and our master plan interacts with that a lot. And so I just want to put it on everybody's radar that we should probably take a look at any updates that we might be able to do in the next year or two, depending on the schedule of the water department. But this might be an opportunity for everybody just to dig it out, dust it off, and take another look at it over the next 6 to 9 months. So that's what I'm suggesting. I'd asked previously about getting parking passes for the committee members. Has any movement happened on that? Because we had them before and they were given, and we were able to actually retain them for a year. If there's an opportunity for that, I'd sure like for us to look into that. And then last, I serve on the San Francisco Bay Restoration Authority in the Independent Citizens Oversight Committee. And I was just in San Francisco all day yesterday on that. And it's coming, does everybody know what that is? We pay a $12 parcel tax for restoration of the bay. So everyone that has you'll see that on your property tax bill. So it's a 20-year program. It expires, I think in 2037, but they're coming up on their 10-year anniversary. And the change that's going to happen is there's going to be community push to inform on what's happened in the past 10 years and what they propose in the next 10 years. And there's going to be opportunity for community events and for this to be tabled. I'm putting this out there. So if there's opportunities for the authority to come up into Sonoma County and it's all educational. It's not a campaign, it's educational. So I'm just throwing that out there. Any questions on that?
What's the name of the
San Francisco Bay Restoration Authority. Yeah. And so $12 parcel tax, it's all 9 counties. We voted on it in 2015, 16, 2016. And it was an aggregate vote of the 9 counties they had to get 2/3 of the vote. And there were 3 counties that didn't make that, but since it was aggregate, it passed. Sonoma County was one that didn't make the 67%. And we only have a little piece that actually is there, but we actually have a certain percentage that is dedicated to each of the 9 counties, each of the areas. And so we've actually had some projects done there. Yes, ma'am.
Could you ask staff to send us a link to
Yeah.
the website?
I'll send a link. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that's all I have. Are there any other members that have things that they'd like to report on?
Just wanted to let everyone know that the Rose Parade is coming back again on May 17th. And I'll want to invite everyone to participate if you'd like. I'd like to send out invitations to staff, and it'd be great to have a Waterways float. How awesome would that be? Right? Just putting that out there, sprinkling it out there. The theme this year is Growing Together. It's a celebration of Sonoma County agriculture and pretty much all things of the land in Sonoma County. So I still say Waterways would be fantastic. So
There's a Waterways together.
that's right. So if you're interested in either volunteering or actually participating in the parade, you can just go to lbroseparade.com, lbroseparade.com, and sign up. We'd love to see everyone from the city being involved in this year's parade.
Is that Luther Burbank?
It's the Luther Burbank Rose Parade and Festival.
Carol.
The Cannery apartment complex is starting to be occupied. And
Oh,
I'm very
nice.
excited about that. Robert actually has had more interaction. I haven't been down there, but I would love for us to go on a field trip. I am so excited and hopeful that this is more eyes and feet on the creek, which is what's going to help bring it back to the vision that past Chair Rabinowitz was part of so many years ago. So very excited. And any news the city might have on the occupancy and how it's going, or perhaps Robert might have insight to share.
Okay, we'll continue with the committee reports though. Anybody else with, yes, ma'am?
About the cannery, we had done one last year. Are you asking for another one?
Oh, no, just to go, well, I don't know if we could go inside at this point. That would
That's
be,
yeah, because right now is if they have occupant, I don't know.
no,
will
I was
ask.
just thinking about a flyby, a walk by,
Okay.
but the tour I went on was so bare bones, there wasn't even sheetrock up. For the first one. But it's just so exciting to see that come to fruition.
Anyone else have anything they'd like to report on from the committee?
I do,
Yeah, please.
as a committee member. I have two
You
brochures.
sound bitter.
Oh, okay. Pressure is off.
Okay.
Anyway, I have two brochures to hand out. One is for the Friends of the Prince Memorial Greenway. I don't think we've had this handed out before. But it's it's not brand new, but it's new. And it gives you a walking tour of Prince Greenway. And Robert's the head of the Friends of the Prince Memorial Greenway. Carol's involved in it as well. And so it's one of the attempts of trying to get more people on the Greenway. As Carol mentioned, it's going to make it healthier and more lively place. And so I encourage you to go down to the Greenway whenever, because it's actually much more pleasant than it ever was before. And except for the very beginning when it was really new and shiny. Another is the Southeast Greenway, which is just announcing the upcoming effort of creating a Parks Master Plan for the Southeast Greenway, which is going to be happening probably starting in the fall. RFPs will be released and it will be created over the next couple of years. And so these kind of fit very well with our topic today, one of which is how, to increase bicycle transportation, and study going on regarding the how to coordinate the two major greenway projects in town regarding transportation. So I thought it would be a timely thing to hand out and to start thinking in terms of our regional transportation system, because we have a good presentation coming up. That's it.
Okay, anyone else? And then I'll ask for public comment. Is there any public comment on our committee reports?
If you're attending in person and would like to make a public comment, please raise your hand.
Not about any other reports, but I do have comment question of the committee.
So,
It's okay.
so we passed that on an agenda item 4. But if it's okay, I'd like to,
Sorry, I was.
no, it's okay. It's just a bureaucratic thing. But
Took me a minute to find this
yeah,
place.
could you give your name if you're willing? And
Sure. My name is Kevin Godwin, longstanding member here in Santa Rosa. It's around 2003. My wife and I live on Matanzas Creek in Bennett Valley.
Could you speak up a little bit?
Yeah.
Sure. Long-standing Santa Rosa member. My wife and I live in Bennett Valley on Matanzas Creek, along Creekside Drive. And I've got some just general questions about waterways, the creeks in particular. And we're still learning as relatively new homeowners in the area. What are the rules, or where can a citizen like ourselves go to understand, like, what are the rules about, like, how to manage the creek, for example, across on the south side of the creek? It looks like a neighbor felled a very large tree, and it's across the creek in an area that I think it does create some obstruction and redirection of the water. And whether it's directly responsible or has some confluence, pardon the pun, of exacerbating what looks like to be significant erosion around retaining walls that we have. I guess the question, there's a couple. How do we manage that? And what's the recourse for homeowners like us in trying to manage living abutting a creek?
I appreciate all your comments. What you're talking about is outside of what we do on this committee, but
Sure.
I could direct you to staff members that could talk to you about that and also recommend, I don't know if you heard us talking about our master plan that governs, I'd recommend that it's online and you can find that and read that and then ask any questions of anybody afterwards. But the staff member from the water department might be able to talk to you after.
We have a creek stewardship program, so we can come out to your property and look at it and give you some information and advice. And so we can connect afterwards if that's works for you.
Sure, thank you, and I apologize.
No, that's okay. Well, thank you. Thank you for coming. Any other public comments? Seeing none, anything online? Okay, then we'll move to department reports. This is the time reserved for city staff to provide a briefing on issues of interest. No action will be taken on these matters except to possibly place a particular item on a future agenda item for consideration. So Planning and Economic Development Department.
So good morning, everyone. As you can see, I'm the new liaison for this board. All your information, contact, anything that you have questions, direct them to me. I will be available, and I don't have any reports or update at this time. Any future meetings that we will have, you will get the notice and we will know if you have any items to be presented for this board.
Do you have business cards?
Bring it.
Okay.
Oh, yes, I have it. I brought it. Yes.
Oh, okay.
I have it back of my phone. I know I had it. So that was for me.
Okay, thank you. Water Department.
Yes, so we have a couple of things. Exciting news, our Lower Colgan Creek Restoration Phase 3 is currently out to bid. So keep our fingers crossed, we can get some competitive bids, but good bids. So this will probably be the city's largest capital project this entire year that is going out to bid. The current engineer's estimate is $6.5 million. So we'll have to see. This is really the longest creek restoration phase we've ever attempted in one season, about 2,500 feet in length. I think we're planting over 8,000 native trees and shrubs, a pedestrian bridge, and then it will be adjacent to a future city park. So that will be great. So pulling everything together, we will be starting construction June 15th if everything comes together, and just a lot of work pulling things together. And I always say the construction is really the easy part. It's taken years to get to this point. So this will be good to be the final phase of Colgan Creek again, because we've completed phases 1 and 2, and all together it'll be 1.3 miles in length. So a pretty significant enhancement of the creek area, and also paving an alternative transportation route, a class 1 trail pathway. So that's all good news there. And then the other thing is just ongoing work of our creek stewardship program, kind of for 2024 calendar year, kind of the same old thing, but we've done a lot of great work. We've had over about 2,300 people have received our creek updates with our emails. Creek Week again, the 3rd week in September was successful. We had almost 400 people out at different creek events and tours and a bike ride and cleanup. And we also had, again, our employee clean up around the city and have some competition between different teams within the city, and awards and prizes for them. So that's been growing every year. And then also just reaching out to schools and our community members. I think this year we reached over 9,000 residents attended our creek events, and we were in schools or other camps with youth community members over 7,000. So we're reaching a lot of people out there, and I think that totaled over 8,000 hours of education. And then as far as our cleanups, we've cleaned up over 1,200 cubic yards of trash. And just to kind of put that in perspective, an average truck, like a pickup truck, is probably about 3 cubic yards. So we're talking about over 400 truckloads of trash.
Wow. Nice. That's bad and nice at the same time.
And we have our kind of ongoing events. First Saturday cleanup will be the first Saturday in March, and then the third Saturday, we partner with Russian River Keeper. We'll have that. And then we have another event I think it's the California Nurses Association is doing a cleanup of Rosa Creek. So we will be out with them on March, I think it's the 15th. I don't have that exact date, but lots of events. And if there's groups that want to do a cleanup, we can help make that happen. We can provide the gear, we can pick up the trash. So it's pretty easy if a group wants to do a creek event.
Okay, questions?
Yes.
Kevin, sorry.
A couple things, Steve, would you remind me where Colgan Phase 3, which reach?
So Colgan Phase 3 is in between phases 1 and 2. So not how I would have planned it ideally, but phase 1 was next to LCL and high school. Phase 3 was at the upstream end, or I'm sorry, phase 2 is at the upstream end. Phase 3 is in between where currently the creek makes a 90-degree bend, which is not a natural curve.
And then the other one is the Roseland Creek cleanup on the March 15th. Which part of Roseland Creek is that?
They are going to begin their cleanup at Stony Point Road.
And go
I believe downstream from there.
west. Okay, good. All right, great, thanks.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
So if somebody wanted to get a creek cleanup group together, you said it's easy.
Yeah.
What does one do?
Well, you can email our Creeks team at creeks@srcity.org is probably the easiest way, or you can contact Kyle, our creek coordinator, or creek stewardship coordinator, and he's 543-3845 is his phone.
543-345.
3845.
3845. Okay, thank you.
Anything else, Viv?
No, that's
Carol.
just.
Steve, 400 pickup truckloads of trash picked up out of our 100 miles of creek in the last calendar year?
Yes, the calendar year. And it's really not over the entire 100 miles of creek. That's probably more the publicly owned or maintained areas, probably about 1/3 of that area. As an estimate.
And the other thing is, I know from Park and Rec that Colgan Creek Park, it's a neighborhood park, it's not a community park. That's going into the planning phase. I think targets 2026. It would be lovely to have a bit of cross pollination because departments do not work in isolation. You're working with Park and Rec, I assume, and Park and Rec is working with you. And the funding, while not commingled, you're all working towards the same goal. I don't know if you could present park information. Getting Jan Santos down here might prove challenging on a Thursday morning, but for this board to know the other end and for parks to know the other end, I think would be helpful in expanding. I'm the only one who represents parks, and what I am able to give to that board is just a fraction of the information.
Well, and I think what's good is that project will be required to come before.
Oh, great.
Maybe
But-
it'll be a
but
project
that's-
adjacent to the creek.
That's fairly late in the process usually.
Yeah, so my understanding, will be doing a park master planning process, a public meeting and that. So hopefully as part of that, we can have them come before the committee here.
That would be awesome.
Terry.
You mentioned Colgan Creek Restoration is going out to bid, right? And 6.5 million is
Is the engineer's estimate.
the engineer's estimate. Okay, thank you.
We're hoping it comes in a little bit under that.
And I'm sorry, I can't write and talk at the same time.
We'll wait for it.
Thank you. And then you mentioned on June 15th, construction starts.
That's the earliest that you can get in a creek to do creek work
Oh.
based on the permits.
Okay, so that's the earliest that this would be able to
Earliest.
start.
Yeah.
Got it. Thank you.
The permit is from,
California Department of Fish and Wildlife
Yeah,
for
okay.
a stream bed alteration agreement.
Yep. Anything else, Terry?
That's it. Thank you so much.
Steve?
Two questions. One, well, first of all, thank you, Steve. This has been how many years in the process?
Even before my time at the city, this was identified by the council in 1999 as one of the 5 creek priority restoration areas. And then the creek or the concept plan for Colton Creek was adopted in November of 2001.
Think about that for a minute. The dedication of the staff is one thing I'd like to just compliment you on. The other is, I also said on the Open Space Districts Advisory Committee, how much money has come from the district to this project? Do you recall?
Yeah, so
Over the 3
they,
phases?
yeah, they have helped with the acquisition of all the property, which we had a little bit in phase 1 and then phase 2, and then phase 3 is the largest parcel. Almost a 4-acre parcel was acquired. So all those were through the hatching grant program. And I think even the first one is even before they called it that, that program. So they've been a big partner on this. And then what we're hoping to do too is after the completion of phase 3, have a pretty large ribbon cutting event inviting the committee and all of our funders, and really a celebration of this project that's been about 25 years in the making.
I'll just pat myself on the back for one moment. You patted it already, but.
Yeah, I'm not gonna do it again.
You don't have to. But I helped get the matching grant program into the measure we voted on back in 1990.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. And it's been one of the things I think has been transformational for all the cities in the county. Windsor Town Green's on a property acquired by the district. They're all over through the program, and they continue. Anyway,
You
I'm
served,
done patting myself.
you served on the Santa Rosa City Council, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I just want to make sure everybody.
I did my time. Yeah.
Point that out. Leader of the community for a long time,
Thank
so-
you. Thank you.
Or, I'm back from.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's an extended time.
That's it.
I don't
We'll
want to-
probably reach, but Mark, you have any questions for?
No, it's great. So much work has been done. It continues to happen, and Golden Creek is a lot better for it. So.
So then I just have a couple, so at some point, there'll be opportunities, because I know on the other segments, there's volunteer opportunities, it has been. Will there be volunteer opportunities for this, or have to wait till after construction?
I think there will be community planting days in the spring of 2026. That will probably.
Oh, okay, so it's out there. Okay, and then, I think you mentioned something about maybe the WAC can have a tour out there at some point. What time frame would you think that would be?
Well, I think, we could tour right now, although there isn't anything happening. During construction, it might get a little bit trickier that the contractor will be in charge of the site. I mean, we can arrange it, but we can see, I think it might be good to go maybe towards the end of construction when you can start to see everything is being finalized.
So I'd like to suggest that maybe we go before construction and then go after construction. And so we can see it before and after, if that's at all possible. Maybe you could coordinate with Monet about that, if we can do that, if the committee would like to. Yeah. And then one last thing, when is Earth Day? Because we've been meeting so irregularly. I think it's in May, right, or June? April, so it's coming up. So when is that, and what kind of activities you guys have planned?
Well, the city is having an Earth Day event again in the town area. We will be doing a creek cleanup on the Saturday closest to that. I'm not 100% sure if everything occurs on the same day again, but I think it does. Usually we do the cleanup in the morning on the Prince Greenway, and then the festival is more like 12 o'clock.
Do we know when the city is celebrating Earth Day?
I think 26th,
April 26th.
12 to 4 p.m.
Okay,
26.
that's all I have. Are there anything else from the committee? And I put it out to the public. Are there any public comment on the water department reports?
If you're attending in person and would like to make a comment, go ahead and raise your hand.
No comments. Sonoma Water Department is not in attendance. Are they online? Probably not. Okay. Then we'll close out agenda item 6 and move to the scheduled event, which is a public meeting on the Santa Rosa Active Transportation Plan update. And if you could introduce yourself and take it from there.
Well, I'm in the process of sharing my screen. Let me make sure I get that working well. Slideshow. And your screen starts looking funny once you start sharing. Thank you. There we go. All right. Oh, moving forward. Not ready. Okay. Hi, my name's Torina Wilson. I'm the city's transportation planner. So what I do is mainly bicycle and pedestrian planning, trying to get people out of their cars. I do a lot of work with funding and prioritizing projects and things like that. I'm also the project manager for the update of our 2018 bicycle and pedestrian master plan. As I've told this group a few times, we're renaming that to the active transportation plan so that it's more inclusive and it's more in line with what other jurisdictions are doing. I've come twice now, so this is my third time here. I believe it will be my last time here just for this process, but I'll give you kind of an overview of what's happening now and the next steps. So we started this process about September of 2023, so it's taken a while. We're taking a bit longer than we usually would for an update of this kind, specifically because our past plans have not kept up with national best practices on like low stress bicycle and pedestrian facilities, and we wanted to do a complete overhaul essentially. So it's taken a while. I did come to you in the third bullet, this like April to June 2024, when we had some existing conditions and we were going to do the first phase of public engagement. I then came back to you when we had some recommended projects and programs and we were getting ready for the second phase of engagement. And I'm here today because we're getting ready for the third round of engagement, which is going to happen for the month of March. So I'm here a little bit prematurely since you meet towards the later of a month. I wanted to be sure I talked to you before public outreach started so that you didn't just get it at the end and you didn't know about it. So the public outreach for the third phase is about to start. It should be starting on March 3rd, as long as everything goes to plan, which so far it is, knock on wood. In this phase, we will have the entire public review draft of the plan. So it's the whole plan. It'll be an online interactive PDF. It'll be on our project webpage. And it'll be open until I believe it's March 30th. So it's pretty much the entire month of March. I will not be doing in-person outreach events. It's really a coalescing everything that we've done throughout the process. So it's nothing. There is some new information, but we don't need much feedback. We need people to tell us, does everything look right? Do you agree with the prioritization, which I'll talk about in a second. After the public review is closed, we will be making edits to that document. The Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Board will see the final plan in May, and then that will get forwarded to the City Council for adoption in June. So that's our timeline there. This is the loose contents of the plan that you'll see once it's online. We have 5 chapters. The first 3 chapters are really a summary of a lot of the information that I've spoken with you about in the past. Chapter 4 is the project and program recommendations. So you got a little bit of that, but it got buttoned down. So chapter 4 is going to be an interesting chapter to look at. Chapter 5 is probably the bread and butter of the plan. It's the prioritization. So we took all of the projects and we ranked them against one another with certain criteria, and we have come up with the ones that we think are the most important to implement within the next about 5 years. We're supposed to update this plan about every 5 years. So that's kind of what we look at, is what can we accomplish before we update it again. And then the appendices are a lot of memos and other documents that you've seen over time. So it's some repeat information, but it's more detail than we'll put in the plan. The plan itself is kept pretty high level so that it's not nitty gritty confusing to get through. This is a overview of the vision and goals that I had brought to you in the past. What we have done with this plan is we've made safety the number one consideration. If you're designing a safe transportation system that is legitimately built for all ages and abilities, it would not preclude anyone from getting anywhere that they want at any time in any way that they would like. So if you build a system that is safe and comfortable, the options are limitless, right? And again, it's built for everybody. So there's nobody that would be precluded from moving about our community. So that's something that we have baked into the Transportation Public Works Department's mission. You might be familiar that we have a new director, Dan Hennessy. That's his passion in the world is transportation safety, meeting our Vision Zero goals. And so he's really helped us kind of reorient the way that we operate so that this can come to fruition. So phase one of engagement, as a recap, we asked the community, what type of barriers do you face when you try to walk and bike in the community? Is there anything that we're doing right that you would like to see more of? Is there anything that we're doing wrong that you would like to see changed? And we took that information and we used it to create the first draft of all of the projects. So we wanted to know from the community, where are there big choke points? What types of infrastructure do you want to see? It was really a clean slate. We just wanted to have them tell us what they would like to see. On the right of this slide here is how much engagement we did. We almost quadrupled how much engagement we did from the 2018 plan. So I am hoping that that means that this plan is representative of what the community would like to see. I'm pretty proud of the team for being able to do that much engagement. So this was the outcome of phase one. Like I said, we were asking folks to tell us where we should be making changes. We compiled that information, we compared it to the existing conditions, and the consultant created this, which was on the left-hand side is a citywide map of all of the pedestrian improvements. So the red line is locations where we're missing sidewalks on both sides of the street. The yellowish orange is where we're missing sidewalk on one side of the street. And then the blue dots are locations where we have intersections that could use some help. And that's signalized intersections, or it's intersections where there's stop signs, or it's locations where there's just crosswalks mid-block. It also includes some creek crossings as well, which I'll talk about a little bit in prioritization. And then you'll also notice on the bicycle map specifically that we do incorporate all of the trails that are adopted in the citywide Creeks Master Plan. So all of those are included. I had told this board in the past that we included them in the list of projects, not just because they are legitimate projects, but also because we have to think citywide in, we have this great backbone network of creeks. How do we get people to them? And so it's also a consideration on streets where there's going to be an entrance to, or there is an entrance to a creek trail. Do we have good bicycle infrastructure? Are the pedestrian facilities complete? Are there any gaps? Things like that. So phase two, we took all of these proposed projects, we took them out to the community, and we just asked if we got it right. Did we hear what you wanted to see, and did we include them in the projects? So we brought them these big maps and we said, okay, on X street, we have figured out that we could fit a class 2 bike lane or a protected bike lane. Does that sound right to you? In a couple of situations, we did edit a few roadways where a couple bike advocates pushed back and they were like, well, I think maybe a class 2 wouldn't be as comfortable there. Can we fit a class 4, which is the protected bike lanes? And so we went in and made some edits. But for the most part, it was, here's what we came up with. Is there anything that looks, scary? Did we get it right? We increased the amount of engagement we did that time. We had an online interactive map, and so folks could zoom in and zoom out. They could post comments, and then you could also comment on other people's comments, which was an interesting way to do the outreach. I found that it really built up the camaraderie, and it seemed like people were really excited to do that. So we actually increased the engagement that we did, or what the consultant was calling interactions, because people were interacting with the map a lot more. So what we did from phase 2 is we used the feedback from phase 2 to help us prioritize projects. So this is something that you have not seen. This is new since I saw you last. So on this map on the left-hand side, it's hard to see from up there, but there are blue dots, which is opportunity projects, or blue lines, which are opportunity projects. The ones that are this maroon color are the ones that are high priority over the next 5 years. Again, the left-hand side is pedestrian, the right-hand side is bicycle. What I want to do is talk about the way that the TPW department is shifting the way that we do business, because it ended up informing the active transportation plan quite a bit. So as I mentioned, we have a new director, Dan Hennessy. When he started, the city council requested that he do a comprehensive review of how the Transportation Public Works Department has been operating, how do we use our budget, how do we maintain our roadways, but also put new facilities in that are for bikes and pedestrians. And he did that. He's been keeping the city council up to date. If you're interested, he has some really interesting presentations that he's done. The last one was on December 10th at that meeting, if you're interested in listening in. But he's been given the go-ahead to shift the projects that we're working on to be safety projects first. That will mean that a lot of the projects that go in are built for all ages and abilities, and are for the most vulnerable on our roads, which typically is bicycles and pedestrians. This means that a lot of the projects that are in the ATP will get prioritized within the next 5 years, which is great news for anyone who walks or bikes or even drives. Honestly, a lot of our bike ped projects result in cars moving a little bit slower, which can dramatically reduce car collisions too. So it has a benefit for everybody. One thing that came through this CIP is our capital improvement project list. So it's all the list of our capital projects that we work on. That gets driven quite a bit by pavement maintenance. So a majority of the money that we get for our TPW department each year goes towards pavement maintenance. And that's fully repaving roads, or that's putting a slurry seal on the top to just preserve the roadway for a little bit longer. You may have noticed downtown that we had a bunch of new bicycle facilities go in last summer. That was part of a pavement maintenance project. So pavement maintenance is one of our best opportunities to get bicycle projects in, because you repave the whole thing, you got to restripe it anyway, right? And so the new system of how we're going to be completing projects is going to be really based on pavement maintenance, which means that our project prioritization was also informed by pavement maintenance. So I'm going to move back a slide. And again, it's hard to tell, but the map on the right-hand side, a lot of the roadways that are listed as high priority are also roadways where we will be having pavement maintenance within the next 5 years. And so what we've done is we said, hey, we're going to do pavement maintenance on X roadways. They're mainly arterials. And the ATP calls for a protected bike lane or a buffered bike lane on that facility. So implementing projects, from what we can tell, will happen a lot quicker. So part of the reason that certain projects were prioritized over others was because we can link them with pavement maintenance, so we can roll out a lot of things faster. In terms of relating to your work on the Waterways Advisory Committee, we worked with Steve and his team quite a bit, the Creeks team, to make sure that we were also prioritizing some projects that would be helpful for the creek system and the creek trail system. Mostly in the active transportation plan, what that means is that we've prioritized trail crossings of arterial roadways. So what we have is we got a list of crosswalks and crossing improvements that they would like to see. One example I can think of is on Hardee's. There's a creek crossing where there's no crosswalk. It's a pretty low stress roadway, so there hasn't been any conflicts at this point, but that is a location where we have a project we could easily go put a crosswalk in. An example of one that's a little larger scale is Guerneville Road. There's a crossing of a creek where in the roadway we have a median. And so if someone wants to get to the other side, they have to walk across Guerneville Road, get up on a median. So it's not ADA accessible. It's not a legitimate crossing. And for them to get to the other side, you've got to go all the way to a signalized intersection. And so people cross there all the time, and that's a safety issue. So that's another project that has been prioritized in the ATP. The good news with this pavement maintenance approach to our capital improvement projects is that Guerneville Road is slated for pavement maintenance within the next 5 years. I can't remember the exact year that it's happening, but it means that at the time that we repave that, we can bundle in a creek crossing improvement to the project. We can have the contractor just automatically add that to their scope. So we've built this in a way where we hope, or at least the intention, is that we can batch projects together so that instead of just pavement maintenance and we're restriping, we can go in and we can do pedestrian gap closure. We can go in, we can do a crossing improvement for a creek or whatever else it may be. The other things that went into prioritization were proximity to transit. So if an improvement was within a certain distance of a bus stop, or especially one of the bus hubs that we have, or a smart station, those projects were elevated. Anything near a school or a park, anything that closes a gap was also prioritized so that we can make sure that it's a continuous system. So at this point, what I need from you and our constituents is to look at the public review draft of the ATP, which again, that should be live on March 3rd. Our project webpage, if you just type in Santa Rosa Active Transportation Plan to Google, it should be the top hit, but there is a QR code on the screen. Again, March 3rd, that should be live on the project webpage. It will be advertised in City Connections if you're signed up for that. I will be sending an email to everyone subscribed to my email list that it is available. So you should, hopefully, if we do it right, see it's come across your screen at some point or the other. But if you can add to your list that you would like to go take a look at that and make some comments, that would be great. And please definitely forward to any of your friends and your family who live or visit Santa Rosa, who walk or bike or even drive, because it'll impact everyone. So what I've got.
All right, that was a very good brief. Thank you. Questions from the committee? Mark, let's start on your side. Or we can start on the other side.
Yeah, start there. Interest of time, yeah.
Or anybody that wants to go.
Yeah.
Carol, go ahead.
Thank you. Broad question. Moving forward, could you guys put your names on your labels? So I have a rotten time with names, and I know your name is not presenter. So
Right.
thank you. Thank you so much
Sure.
for your presentation. A couple of things. Getting an email when it goes live would be very helpful, because I don't take notes like Vic does. Yeah, but I don't read mine. When you are doing your planning, do you look at the City of Santa Rosa master plan? I think the new one is 2030. You mentioned Guerneville Road, and I'm immediately thinking of, I forget the name of the housing complex that's going up. There's like
Lance Drive.
Yes. Do you look 6 months ahead? Do you look 2 years ahead? I know you're concentrating on the current situation, but please reassure me that there's also that looking forward as part of the scope of your work.
Yeah, certainly. So another part of my job is I do development review for the like transportation engineering side. So I am aware of all of the projects that come in, especially the ones that require transportation studies and things like that. So the PED department does keep us updated on projects that come in. So when a development comes in, we can require a developer to put in frontage improvements, and sometimes that's on portions of their property. So we could have them pull a project back so they could fit in curb, gutter, sidewalk, and a bike lane, things like that. So we do that on an ongoing basis. A lot of the improvements that are mentioned in the active transportation plan are because we own a portion of roadway that we know we can do something in. And so a lot of them are already vetted for what we can accomplish just ourselves. So we're not going to always depend on development to put improvements in. For sidewalk gap closures, sometimes we have to, especially if we don't own that land right there. But there are definitely considerations. So for instance, for the Lance Drive project, we knew before that was approved that we were going to request that the developer puts a like multi-use path just on the frontage on Guerneville Road. And so that's reflected in the active transportation plan.
Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation, and I really do love the focus of what you're talking about. In terms of connectivity, I just think it's so important. You know, this committee obviously has a responsibility of evaluating creek projects, you know, once adjacent to creeks, but also the creek system provides the best opportunity for off-street bike paths, which we know are so important to families and others who don't really want to navigate the streets or are reluctant. But of course, connectivity between the two is important too. So I appreciate what you're saying about connectivity across arterials, because I've always thought that the creeks on the west side of town particularly provide a great opportunity to connect to Santa Rosa Creek and the others. But the crossings are very challenging, as you know. And so any work that could be done to make it safer to cross would be very desirable, as well as other projects coming along, as you know, like the Southeast Greenway project, which is going to go across 2 major arterials. So, you know, that's just really vital and provide a connection across town.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Any other, go ahead.
On March 3rd.
Yeah.
When it goes live,
Yes.
what will people see?
It will be on the, I can even pull up the project webpage so I can just show you what it'll look like.
And when you do, is Activa, is that a play on 2 languages?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
So I can also show you the logo while we're there. So I pulled it up. Let me share my screen again. Right, we're on our way. There we go. So this is our project webpage. This right here, can you see my cursor? Yeah, a little bit. That's our project logo. So the Activa is a play on words because in Spanish, Activa is active. So we did that for our logo since it could be read in both languages. It's a bit more accessible. So anytime we've put something on the webpage, we'll always put it at the top, whatever new thing has come out. So right now you'll see the final existing conditions report, and then you'll see we have an upcoming public meeting with the Bike Ped Advisory Board on March 20th. And then you'll see a list of past engagement, past advisory body meetings. And so what you're going to see is right here under the intro and above the existing conditions report, there will be an icon that'll have probably a picture of the front of the plan, and it'll ask you to click on it, and it'll take you to a new tab, and you'll be able to comment on the PDF at that time.
So you'll click, it'll be a PDF that pops up.
Online interactive PDF is what the consultant has told me. And from what so they haven't showed me an example of what it looks like, but they've explained that you'll be able to go to a page and you can click and make a comment right there on the page where you're looking at it. And I believe that you'll be able to see other people's comments as well. I don't know if you'll be able to interact with them. That's a TBD.
Probably not a good idea.
Yeah. But we'll find out next week.
And just, I don't know if this is the proper forum for this, but just an observation. I noticed in the buffered bike path that was put in between Hope and it's moving further downtown.
Yep.
Driving down there, if you have a long bed truck
Yes.
parked at that angle,
Yes.
it forces traffic into the oncoming lane.
Yep.
So clearly you know this.
We are aware, yeah, we've had some complaints mainly from the fire department. So when they're
And
responding,
that's
they
exactly
have
what
to
I was
go
thinking.
into the other lane. So we are working with the parking department. They'll be marking those as compact, and then that won't fully solve the problem, but a little bit. And then that roadway will get repaved It's within the next couple of years. I can't remember exactly when. And you can change the degree of the angle so that longer vehicles won't be sticking out as much. So we're aware of it, yeah.
Thanks.
Kevin,
Thanks. And thank you for the presentation. I got three questions, comments. First, would you just remind me then, so in this March review, you've already gone out for what does the public want? You've confirmed that you got it right.
Yep.
This review, is this just a final sort of blessing, big picture comments? And then what will you be able to do with those comments at this point?
Yeah, good question. It is a blessing. It is big picture comments. But what I am going to be telling folks is chapter 5 is new. So chapter 5 is something that not many people have seen. So chapter 5, as a reminder, is the prioritization of all of the projects. We, with the Bike Ped Advisory Board, brought the methodology. We told them, here's how we're going to prioritize projects, and we're going to link it to this pavement maintenance CIP change, but they have not actually seen the projects prioritized themselves. So chapter 5 is new. There is definitely a chance that folks from the public have enough comments on chapter 5 that we think, oh, the public really cares about this project being in our high priority list. So there is flexibility there where there could be changes that we see. We're also interested in like spelling or grammar mistakes or really anything that you notice as you go through. There's been a lot of eyes on it, but that doesn't mean we catch everything. So.
Okay, great. Thank you. The second thing is, well, I'll brag about my neighborhood. First, I live right on Roseland Creek. And we have a creek trail, and we have access to that trail every 8 houses. Oh, it opens up and goes through the creek. And that has created such wonderful community. And I mean, I was a fan of walking anyway, but we have a very diverse neighborhood. I think these days, importantly, it's very diverse politically, at least based on bumper stickers in the area. But we're all friends when we walk out on that creek, you know, and it really brings the community together. So which makes me think then, you mentioned improvements of crossings. What about access to creeks, like access to creek trails? Is there anything baked in so far or any significant places where we can improve access?
Not in the active transportation plan. We always look for opportunities when new development comes in. Like this isn't a creek trail, but the Joe Rodota Trail, there's the Tierra de la Rosa project on West Avenue where we've asked for them to put a connection to Joe Rodota. So there are cases where development comes in and we can ask them to do that. It is difficult when you're talking about private property, where we would have to either put an easement or purchase right of way from a property owner. That can be a pretty arduous process. I can't think, I guess in some cases, if we went and we put in a new section of Creek Trail, maybe there could be an opportunity there, but at least in the active transportation plan, the answer would be no.
All right, good. Third thing, you have done a lot of outreach and noticed a lot of the, tabling at events and that kind of stuff. What about outreach to the business community? I'm thinking about realtors for one. In 2023, the National Realtors Association, whatever they're called, did a study of biking and pedestrian activities in cities and found that people overwhelmingly wanted to live in a bike and pedestrian friendly city. And of course, then the realtors have an economic incentive to promote this. So was there much outreach done there or like to the chamber or people like that?
Yeah, we
People
do
in the
a ton
business
of
community.
a ton of different nonprofits or community groups like Council on Aging, Common Ground Society, Earl Baum Center for the Blind, or just a couple that come to mind. So there's a lot of businesses like that we do speak with. We did speak with the chamber. We've done some collaborating with them. The realtors is a new one. That one hadn't come up, but that is a good idea. Something that I do ask when I come to groups like this is if you know of any groups or you have any connection to a group, please advertise because there's only so much that the city staff can do. I don't think anyone ever believes me that I want you to do that. So I don't know how much any board I go to actually does, but I mean, city staff, we always want you to help us with advertising. So if you ever had a connection, let me know because I would love that.
And the final comment, probably what maybe gave rise to that last question is, I think I may have mentioned this before. I was riding my bike downtown 4th and D, and a car pulled up next to me that was literally inches from my handlebars. And I said, and I was in a very good mood, thankfully, very friendly. And I said, I said, I just waved and I said, this is when that new 3-foot gap rule had come out. And I just mentioned that briefly. And the response from the driver was, if you were in the lane ahead of me, I have the right to run you over.
Whoa.
Oh.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I think it's illustrative of some car bike animosity, and I think that's why I guess we're outreach to more groups. I think bringing in more people into this effort maybe could reduce some of that. I think the cars are saying, well, all those bike activists want to take my car away. And, the bike activists are saying those cars are driving too fast and they're endangering me. And so there's a lot of that animosity.
Yeah.
And so any comments there, anything you've seen, any efforts to address that?
There's only so much of human behavior that we can control, which is frustrating sometimes. So our job is that we retrofit existing infrastructure in a way that will be as safe as possible. There are a lot of design considerations or things that you can put into a project that can influence behavior. So if you build really wide lanes for a vehicle and there's nothing on either side, no trees or sidewalk or anything, you are just naturally incentivized to drive really fast. And so there's a lot of things that we can do with making things feel more narrow or narrowing lanes a little bit. But we will never get rid of cars. No matter how much bicycle comfortable infrastructure we put in, there will always be folks who only want to drive, who might feel animosity against walking and biking. The best that I can accomplish and what my goal is that I just make it an option. For anyone who wants to walk or who wants to bike, they can do that. They can do it safely. And there's a lot of benefits to drivers that they might not be aware of. And even when they're experiencing a benefit, they might still not like the project. One example is we did a road diet pilot project in front of Steel Lane Elementary School. We did an update to the Bike Ped Advisory Board last night. So if you're interested in an update on that, you can go look at the recording or the project webpage. But we found that collisions on that roadways for vehicles are down, speeds are down, but by a couple seconds. And so we slowed folks down. We gave more space for turning vehicles. We put in a protected bike lane. And so the data is showing us that it's a little bit slower for vehicles, yes, but not in any way that would be considered significant from a data standpoint. But we released a survey and it's as if we've just ruined everything on this segment, but the data doesn't show that. And so it's really interesting the type of testing that we'll do to make sure that we can make it better for everybody. And, our hands are sometimes tied on perception of a project, but we'll try. Yeah.
That's a really, really interesting project, I think. Is it going to remain the change or not?
It will remain as is for now. I know there was a decision by the school board to close Steel Lane Elementary in 2026. We have felt that the pilot is successful because we've reduced vehicle collisions. We've also reduced speed a little bit. And for now and for the next year, the children will be safer going to and from school. That section of roadway is slated to be repaved in the next 3 years, I want to say. And so when we do the design for that, we don't know exactly what it'll look like, but we've proven that we can put in a separated bike facility and that it'll be okay. So that will stay. I don't know what the rest of the roadway will look like.
Thank you.
Carol, you had something.
Yeah, going back to the survey. I know you'll start advertising it on social media, and I'm old, all I do is Facebook, but I know there are lots of others.
Right.
Can you get it up on the Waterways, on Park and Rec, or do you just get it up through Transportation and Public Works and hope it gets picked up? And also, I have all of about 150 friends, but city council members have way more.
Yep.
You have way more. To encourage, I always think social media is initially inexpensive and then it's free, like social other things to get out to encourage both English and Spanish community members to take the time. And I don't quite know how to encourage city council people. I do it all the time, and most of the time it's like throwing a bottle into
Yeah.
the water, but get it shared.
Yeah.
Use everything you've got that doesn't cost money
Yes.
to, thank you.
Yeah, it'll be on City Connections, which is citywide. It'll go to the mailing list of everyone signed up for the mailing list, and it's a couple thousand folks. And then this is the first of the committee meetings that I'll do. So I'll do CAB, Planning Commission, City Council will get a staff briefing. Bike Ped Advisory Board will get one. I think that's it. But yeah, working on it.
Yeah, are you coming to Design Review Board? Will you?
No, Design Review Board has not been part of the process historically.
I know, but that doesn't mean we couldn't be.
Yeah.
No, this, because it's the interconnectivity
Mhm.
that was mentioned earlier, that's important. So, I mean, I don't know, I think our first meeting, I think our next meeting is next week.
Mhm.
And I'll just say, I will be giving a report from here and I'll say,
Okay.
we should invite you if you'd be, and we'll see what they say. But it just touches on so many things that clearly have to do
Mhm.
with the design of the city.
Yeah.
So I think that would be great if you'd be willing.
Sure.
I have two questions. One is, you had said to advertise to the community, and it wasn't that we might do it in our roles and that we might encourage our colleagues and peers on other groups to do the same thing. Do you want those people or us, or, like, to contact you? Should we send you the names, like the realtor thing? That was like a really cool idea. Do you want us to send that to you? What do you want us to send the realtors to you, like figure out who's the head of the realtor group and say, hey, you should contact Tarina Wilson because she's the one? Or like, how does that work? Because it does seem a little, very much like your question at the very beginning, Kevin, like who do you talk to? How do you find the person to talk to?
Yeah, it's a good question. I would say if we were early in the process, I would have requested for a contact and then I would have managed it. At this point, I think the best course of action would be if you have a connection to a group, I would send them a message with a link to the plan and say, hey, I have a role on the city's WAC, and I think this would be of interest to you. And then you can always let them know that I'm the contact person and they can get in touch with me if they would like. You're always welcome to send me information. But I think at this point for advertising, it would be, I think you would really benefit from looking at this. Here's the,
That's great. And my very last, first, just a comment, Steel Lane. It's part of, I walk on it and then I also drive on it, and I knew what was coming and I'm prepared for it. And so, I get in the right lane. And lots of people don't. And actually, that's not true. I saw over time that lots of people who did know that their lane was about to disappear got as far over to the right as they could. And yeah. Everybody who has done Steel Lane regularly recognized that there's that group of people.
Guilty.
Yeah. But what I really, more important is a question about the bike signage, bike traffic signage, which probably has some specific title. But I had to look up and then I didn't find the answer at the city of Santa Rosa, what all the green markings and the little, like the hieroglyphics meant. It was really, and I like to do research. So I did find it. And then I was like, trying to explain it at dinner one night, and people were bored. So I stopped. But
Told me afterwards, I looked too and never found it.
Yeah.
The zigzags, the
yeah,
Zs.
oh, my goodness. So how might motorists in particular, I think people who are cyclist activists know this stuff because it is a new language. And certainly it's new in Santa Rosa. How might we help motorists learn this language? Because it's hieroglyphics.
Yeah. That's a good question. I'm gonna have to think about that.
Okay. So thank you very much.
Other,
Yeah,
que-
thanks for the presentation. Really great.
other questions from the committee?
Yeah, I just had a quick question. Has there been any coordination or work between you and the Smart Train Trail?
Uh-huh.
Or ongoing efforts to get that going?
Yeah, so within the ATP itself, we did some coordination in terms of like getting people to the smart path and things like that. So we're in communication with them for those types of things and improvements. So the cannery development, we're having them put in some new lighting and help like crossing improvements where the future trail could be. And then we're always in talks for closing gaps and things like that. So, yeah.
Any other questions? I have a couple. Can we put up one of your slides back up? It's the one
Sure.
with your prioritization.
Yeah.
So I really like that you're linking to the pavement maintenance program. That's really, it just seems like a no-brainer, and I'm glad you're doing that. And I know that the pavement maintenance, there's a index, right? And so that's what prioritizes which areas are gonna, right, and then
Yep.
you try to fund them. Oh no, the list, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, so when I looked at that, the very first thing I thought of, okay, safety is the highest, feasibility is the lowest. But is that really the case? Did you stack these?
Some of them.
So-
So the way, how do I explain this? It'll be in the plan, so you'll be able to see exactly how many points were given to each thing. This is a summarized list. So safety ended up getting broken out into two categories. One was you get X number of points if there's a higher rate of collisions on this segment, and then you get X number of points if the improvement is low stress. So if you would put in a protected or separated facility versus an on-street facility.
So this is a weighted list then?
Yes, there were scores applied to everything. And then this is kind of a like quote unquote dumbed down overview of the considerations.
So a project will enter into this list and get scored?
It already has been. And then
Oh,
on this
okay.
slide, so it's
Okay.
showing which ones have been prioritized based on that scoring criteria.
Yeah.
And also based on staff reviewing the list of all the projects and
Okay.
saying, we know we could get that one done quicker if that's on the priority list, because we'll batch it into the pavement maintenance. And then I'll point out, so this slide has the list of appendices, the prioritization methodology and list of projects. That
Okay.
last one, that's where the scores will be. So that's where we'll show you what scores went into what.
Mhm.
However, in the ATP, we're not gonna put the score that every project got.
Understood.
All we're gonna do is say, this is the batch of high priority, this is the batch of the opportunity projects.
Okay, that's great. Thank you for that explanation.
Yeah.
So Santa Rosa has a lot of county islands. Roseland being the biggest one, which is now no longer an island. And of course, the sidewalks and gutters and all that stuff, a lot of areas are non-existent. And it's the same way when you get into some of these county islands. So how did you guys address that?
That's a rough one. So you think about land use patterns, and a lot of time for counties, they're more rural or sprawling, and then in cities, you're a little bit more compact and dense. So it means that the development patterns of the county land that we've annexed over time are a lot different than what we've developed over time. So in quote unquote past rural roadways. So like in Roseland, or one that often comes up is the southern end of Lance Drive, like south of Guerneville, is that there's no sidewalk facilities or bike facilities, but on the side of each roadway are culverts. And it's not only private property, but they are often in environmentally sensitive areas. And because our like development requirements have changed, another thing is when we go and we put in sidewalk facilities, it triggers curb, gutter, sidewalk improvements, and low impact development improvements, which means that what like a standard sidewalk gap in downtown might cost $10,000, that becomes a multi-million-dollar project.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah.
And so it's difficult sometimes, especially in those more rural roadways. In the active transportation plan, one thing that we've done, I'll use Roseland as an example, is there's a couple areas where we want to go to the community and ask them more specifically how we could help them. So one example you'll see in the ATP is we took West Avenue and Dutton Avenue south of Sebastopol Road, and we labeled them as study corridors, because what we could do, there's options, right? We could make one of them one way and the other way, or we could make one of them a slow street and remove parking on one side and put speed cushions and things like that. But we don't feel confident that we can just make the decision for the community. So we designated them as study corridors, and we said, we want to go out, ask them if they want more improvements. And if they do, have them inform what those might look like.
It's a good idea.
So there's some opportunities for that.
How about signage, in the interim where, where share the lane or share the road with the bicycles when it's a city jurisdiction?
Yeah, so we will probably sometimes put in signage. Those are what's considered class 3 bike lanes, which means that there's no separated facilities for bikes and you do use the signage. There's no guidance that I'm aware of in the United States right now that says that we should do that. So I don't know if we will be putting any in.
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay, the last question I have, so I know you have the pavement maintenance to help prioritize, like with the Hearn overcrossing improvements, and I know there's pedestrian and bicycle things that are going in that. So you got the overcross and you got all this stuff and then nothing. So how are you guys spreading that out and interacting with that?
There is a project happening concurrently for the western side of the overcrossing to the smart path. And so we're right now we're in the design phase of a multi-use path that'll link the two. So there at least would be a north-south connection where you can then get safely and then over the Hearn overcrossing and then over. And then in the ATP, facilities like Santa Rosa Avenue are labeled as being able to have a protected bike lane. And I think there's some improvements on Hearn, but I would have to look at what those were. So there is consideration. A lot of what we did in the ATP is we said arterials are not only where we have a lot of housing, but we also have a lot of the services. And so you want to build facilities that get people to the places that they want to go. And so that's one consideration where we went in and we said, some of our arterials need an overhaul and there needs to be bike ped improvements on them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other committee questions? And then I'd like to open it up to the public. Any questions from the public?
I do have a question. By the way, great presentation. I am interested to know, in this phase that you're in this next month, when you're gonna have this period of feedback, if you had received, let's say, a wave of overwhelming response about prioritization, it sounds like you would consider reprioritization or no?
So if a project is prioritized because we can batch it with pavement maintenance, no. But there is opportunity for other projects to get elevated, partially because we do have some separate bike ped funding that happens every year. It's not a lot, unfortunately. But we can also always go after grants. And so if we know something's really important to the community and a grant opportunity comes up, we can apply for that. Yeah.
Okay. I go ahead, just, I didn't quite understand, I couldn't hear what you're saying.
I wanted to bring up one more topic, and I don't know, Robert is here from the Friends of the Prince Memorial Greenway, but there is a study going on regarding the connectivity between the Prince Memorial Greenway and the Southeast Greenway, a federal grant, as I recall. Would you mind just briefly describing
Sure.
what that is and how that will potentially fit into all this?
Yeah. So I work on tons of things. I could take all day if you would let me. But that is.
And third.
I'm gonna need more time. We did receive last year a technical assistance grant from the US Department of Transportation. It's not monetary, it is technical assistance. But they formed consultant groups that are helping thriving communities, which we've now been designated as one, on a project. And our project is, we have Prince Memorial Greenway and this whole connection of trails on the west side of town that go regionally. And then we have the Southeast Greenway that'll go in, but we have a gap in the middle and we don't really know how people are going to get from point A to point B. And so our project is figuring out how to link those two things in a low stress manner. So right now we're in the phase of developing various alternatives. The city will be bringing that to a group of some stakeholders, and then we'll be bringing that to the public. So there'll be a whole public campaign and we'll say, here's some ways that we could link you from both greenways. What do you like the most? Each option will have concessions. So it might be parking removal. It might be traffic diverters to reduce traffic on neighborhood streets. Like it could be various different things. So we will have to ask the community, what are you willing to give up to get a comfortable link? So that's approximately 2.5-year project. And then once the preferred alternative is chosen by the end, the consultant team does help us with grant applications. So hopefully that would be phased with, we wouldn't have to wait for the Greenway project to be built, but hopefully it would be phased in a nice way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. It was a very informative, and you can see our committee is very interested in the work you're doing. That closes out number 7. I just, before we adjourn, are there any projects coming up that are, this is a presentation kind of meeting, but that we're going to be evaluating? Is there anything out in the future you can think of, Monet?
I'm thinking about the project next to the creeks. I know in downtown, but
Nothing really comes to mind. That's okay. I'm just kind of curious. And then,
I can check next time so I can bring up your information. I will.
okay, and then I think Carol, you made mention of the name tags.
Name tags.
But Steve, you're part of our committee, you're part of reports and everything. And if we have a table like this, I sure would like for you to sit up here and maybe get a water department thing. And so, and the same goes for you, Mark, right? Yeah, I don't want to just keep calling you recording secretary. So, okay, that's all I have. If there's no, go ahead.
Future agenda item?
Yeah, okay, we don't really have that on here. Next time we'll bring that in the committee reporting area, but go ahead.
I've asked for this before. I would love an update on things that we have reviewed in the past. As I drive Brookwood to come here, the medical office kind of looks stalled out. I'm not looking for insider trading information, but we have gone out to so many sites to get an update on where they stand. It kind of nourishes, makes it worth my while. I know every time I go by the storage units, which are everywhere. It's like, oh, I remember going out to that creekway and this creekway. Just some feedback would nourish me personally.
Us all, I think.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So you basically would like to have some updates about what's happening with the project and where they are with the, okay.
Yes, please.
Without making it overwhelming work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, then I'd like to adjourn the meeting and thank everybody for their participation.
Thank you.
Good meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve, for all your service.
That's right.
Thank you, Steve.